Hey now, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of DDO Players. This is Drac, your host. I am here with Andrew Lowen of Lowen Games. Hello, Andrew.
How you doing?
I am doing good. Thanks for joining us today. We are going to talk about an upcoming Kickstarter for a brand new game that is all your creation. It's called Deliverance.
That is right. It's and it is not an ill-fated river rafting trip.
I yeah, I was going to bring that up, but before we get to that, let's talk about you a little bit. What is your history in gaming?
Ooh, that's a fun question. So, I guess I could focus on board gaming, but I basically am just a huge nerd. I started off Pokemon. So as far as video games, I actually became a professional Hearthstone player. I put over 30,000 hours into World of Warcraft. I was a high level League of Legends player, and had too many kids and thought I better kind of stop this competitive gaming. I had, we were super tournament players in WoW. And my arena partners actually ended up won the first BlizzCon tournament, and my other partner took third in the next BlizzCon. And
Wow.
yeah, I've got a lot of friends that I wrote an article for a website called ihearthyou.com, which is no longer in existence. But it was called Welcome to Hearthstone. You suck. And it's a fun article, but so thousands of people read it, and it was their most popular article on their. And they, I ended up becoming a professional that would teach people how to win at Hearthstone, how to earn the legend rank, and how
That
to
is
generally
amazing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was maybe $400 a week. So that was pretty satisfying alongside what I was. But yeah, so professional, making money to eat, top ramen, survive. But so as far as my board gaming and card gaming and that kind of thing, I started playing Pokemon competitively at the age of 14, 30. Actually, I was around 36. But so I have been playing analog games for a long time. Got into Magic the Gathering and played that really hard from maybe 1998 through 2006. Then we played Yu-Gi-Oh! We played like every other card game that is probably no longer in existence, including WoW, trading. A lot of others that are just old that you. And I did. Then we got into board game, which started with. So we had a group, my group of friends. They just started. It ended up being the Spiel des Jahres games, the ones that won Spiel des Jahres, the Game of the Year award. They would buy them, and then we'd get over and we'd play. So I played Catan. I played lots of other. I can't even which games have won Spiel des Jahres that we played at the time. But played a bunch of them. Played Dominion. And got into Pandemic. Started to play Catan a bunch with my wife, and then I realized there's a whole nother level, maybe right around 2014, 2015, whole nother level to hobby board gaming.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It's funny how Catan is usually the catalyst for that too. I have talked to a lot of people, and they say Catan is what made me realize there's more to board gaming than like Monopoly, and then it opens up the rabbit hole, right?
Yeah, it's because as kids, we would always play a game that's roll and move. In essence, it could play itself. It's like, oh, sorry, like you just roll a dice until one person wins the game. It's
Right.
what happens, right? Oh, I stomped on you. Haha, sorry. This game is twice as long now. Right?
All right.
Like, no. But now Catan, you would roll dice and you wouldn't move with them. You would do a different thing. So it's really easy to understand. And it's funny because actually as a game designer, I would take Deliverance to a family event or something like that. And, people would really want to see Deliverance. What is this game all about, right? And I have friends that are, or family members that are just non-gamers that only understand games like Sorry and Parcheesi and Checkers and stuff like that. And the first thing that they do is they take the 6-sided dice at the beginning of their turn, they roll it. Well, what did I get? what does that mean? It's like, that's not how let's play this game.
That's
You don't even roll the dice like
right.
that.
We don't need the dice yet. Yeah, that's right. They're like, what? What is this?
Right. So it's just funny, funny to think how, it's Catan is an extremely easy game that just blows people's mind. I get to see my empire grow across this new
Right,
land.
right. What is this madness you're talking about?
Yeah. And it's really all about the story that we tell ourselves in our head, right? It's like, you're not just rolling dice and then putting, wooden blocks on the ground. And as you build your little empire in Catan, you're telling yourself, like, these are my settlers, and I just created a city. It's like, we're getting more advanced and we're more awesome now. Oh, you're trying to take my spot. It's like all of a sudden it's like a little bit of a trade war going on. It's not. It's like the narrative inside your head is what makes Catan really fun, and there's just so much room. Other hobby board games since have just really improved on the thematic element, but that's what I always found fun about it. It's like the story that's being told as we play.
Exactly, exactly. That's, I think, the best part of the whole hobby game hobby, I guess, is just the themes of the games and the stories that you can tell, and just sitting around the table with your friends, playing through those stories and those games.
Yeah, it's one of those things I feel hobby games are really special because, coming from video games, it was very much like, you could play multiplayer and co-op and everything like that, but you're really like by yourself in a way, like you're kind of isolated from like the normal world. And even though you might be talking to your friends, you're only really talking to them when it's relevant. And you're all focused on the thing that you're doing, the game, right? But in board gaming, it's not like it's real time. You can look up and you can talk and you can go back to your turn, and there are times where it's not your turn and you don't have to think or whatever. So in a lot of games, you can just enjoy people's company. I feel like the only other thing that matches the intimacy of board games, as a kind of a group activity, is sharing a meal together.
I never looked at it that way, but you are absolutely 100% correct with that.
It's interesting because you've got this kind of a very intimate thing. In Middle Eastern cultures, sharing a meal is akin to like signing a trade agreement.
Right, yeah.
You're like, it's a big deal. And in fact, I would say that you look at like the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and back in, this is weird tangent, back in like the when Yasser Arafat made this, they actually made an agreement for a trade, like a peace agreement. And at the time, whoever was the Israeli prime minister, made the agreement with Yasser Arafat, the Palestinian leader, and they made an announcement that was a public announcement, and they were like, "Yeah, we've got this peace agreement," and I think they're called the Oslo Accords. Anyway, but they never shared a meal together, and they broke the agreement, and that was what it was. And in the Middle Eastern cultures, they rather, I'll say this, at that time, they expressed caution over the agreement because they did not share a meal together, and to kind of seal the deal. It's weird.
So, moral of the story is always share a meal together.
Yes, and never bring Cheetos to my game night.
That's true too. Well, we could have a
They only
game
brought
night.
pizza.
Right. We could have a game night coming up soon with your game that's going to hit Kickstarter, which we will hopefully talk about the date in a little bit. But tell me about Deliverance. What you can give me, as I like to say, the elevator pitch. What is Deliverance? Because it's a very unique game for the genre of game that it is.
Yes. So it is a dungeon crawler, or it's a tactical adventure board game, is what I've been calling it. And it's a Christian fantasy theme. So you play elite angels in the army of heaven, and you've come down to this small modern day backwoodsy little town called Fallbrook, and it is absolutely rife with demonic activity. So you suspect that one of your former angelic brethren, one of the mighty fallen princes, is leading the armies of darkness from the shadows of this little town. So it is your mission to send that foe to the abyss to await his final judgment. and find out what is really going on underneath the surface. Alongside your quest of the demons, you have a standing order as an angel of light to guard the saints. So you have to act as the guardian angel of the saints, which will influence the kind of the way the actual gameplay. The saints will cause darkness to hit the board. So basically, the evils of the human realm are impacting in this town the spiritual realm. So basically the evils from the human realm manifest themselves as darkness. So you have things like suicidal thoughts and a nation divided, and other serious, like, we don't pull punches or that. You have the darkness of the human realm influences the spiritual realm, and it cripples you, and it benefits the demons, and it deals you damage and other things like that. So you can't survive by blade alone. So you do wage tactical combat against these demons, and at the same time you have to use your prey actions and other things like that to deal with darkness. So you have this really interesting balance between tactical combat against demons. So you're playing cooperatively together as angels, and the demons are all controlled by the game itself. And this darkness is kind of aiding the demon, and so it's pretty fun. Hard too.
What was the genesis, no joke intended there, for the game? How did you come up with the idea? It's like, I'm going to make a Christian-based tactical combat / dungeon crawler game.
Yeah, so I guess the impetus of the idea was that, so first my wife, as a nerd, I tend to be more there's this concept called the magic circle, which is really the idea of hey, we're accepting this set of rules as true. We're stepping out of reality into the whatever universe this game or movie is, and we're just accepting certain things as true. So you watch a Marvel movie, it's not weird that a guy puts on a Viking helmet and flies using a hammer. Like,
right.
That's just not weird. Or that, like, Black Widow can do scissor takedowns of, like, aliens, and like no one can stop her scissor leg takedown. So like she does that scissor on the head and just like knocks everyone over. It's like, that's normal. Also, Thanos can collect 5 gems and snap, and then everyone's
That's
gone.
right.
Right?
Everyone disappears, right?
Yeah, so that's just a normal thing, right? So that's the concept of the magic circle, and you get weird things. People kind of they break the theme of, or rather, you kind of break the magic circle when you introduce something else that's like, oh, by the way, Barack Obama is president, and it's like, wait, well, that's real life. I thought we were dealing in fantasy or whatever, right? And it's just one of those things that there are certain things you can do to break that immersion is really what it is. So with a board game, the idea is so. Oh, by the way, so back to my wife and the whole genesis of this idea. My pen totally intended. That was great. So it was, my wife just felt uncomfortable with certain fantasies like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings she loved, but others she just problems with. She felt like, hey, there's sorcery and other things like that the Bible says is evil, and yet like the heroes are using magic, and I didn't have a problem with that at all, but kind of did, and so I was like frustrated that I love fantasy. I mean, like I don't know if you know, but I put like so many hours into World War. It was literally a third of my life over 10 years. And like the rest of the life was spent sleeping and doing school.
Right, exactly.
Like, eating and stuff. And so I just love this genre. I love that power fantasy that you get going into a fantasy world and being like the super strong dude, able to save the world from the big bad guy, right? And my wife liked that too. She just had a problem with the way that magic and
yeah.
Right. So I was like, I wish there was just a game that wouldn't her to feel like she was compromising her faith, while at the same time I didn't compromise the excellence of the quality of the experience. I didn't like the idea of, I don't want to play like the Christian thing, because oftentimes that's just like a worse version of a better game. You
right.
get Settlers of Catan that were play Settlers of Canaan. It's like, yeah, so
Yeah, I don't know. I've played a couple games like that where they just slap the Christian theme on it, and it's another game, and it's like this is not fun at all.
yeah, it's like it could be, Christian and disciples, or it could be zombies.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, exactly.
yeah. So that was always frustrating to me. And so my wife one day made me go out on a run, and I don't really like to run that much, but I just had a hard day, and she was like, "This will help you cool off. Get out." And so I put on my running shoes. I was just thinking about what I read earlier today, which was the book of Jude. You've got, Michael the archangel. It's written in Jude verse 9. Michael the archangel disputed with Satan over the body of Moses. Thought, that, and you got like the prince of Persia that withstood Gabriel, the angel Gabriel, like the guy that's like, hey, by the way, baby Jesus is coming. He was resisted by this demon called the prince of Persia for 21 days. And between Michael and Satan, that whole encounter, and then this prince of Persia encounter with Gabriel, and which again talks about Michael, evidently the best fighter in all of heaven. That very intriguing to me. And I realized, I was wondering, like, how did they fight? What did they do? Like, did they use words? Did they use weapons? Like, well, how did they do
Right,
this?
exactly.
Right? Not explained. And so I just thought, how cool would it be if there was a game like that? But then I realized I could throw a fireball at a demon face and melt them into a pile of ash. As long as I did it by the power of God, there was no. So, and actually, in the Bible, you have angels that are blessed with the power of fire. For example, in Revelation, I believe, I could be wrong, I'll probably butchered it, but you've got this angel with the power of fire, and you've got other angels with other types of powers, the winds, angel of the waters, and other things like that. And so I thought, wow, there is such opportunity here to not compromise at all on faith, because if the quote unquote magic was gifted by God to these angels, which is, there is precedent for that, like theological precedent for that, there's no problem. The demons could be gifted as well, and they could just be fallen, other things like that. And that's really where the true Genesis of the idea came from. I looked for something that like that existed, and there was nothing. And so here we are, 5 years later.
Yeah, that's was going to be my next question. So, how long have you been designing this?
So yeah, it's been so June 1st, 2016 was when I don't know why that date is so locked into my mind, but that's when I went out on that run, and I just started really, really steaming with ideas and things. And so we probably took like maybe 6 months to maybe 6 to 7 months to actually come up with the first prototype, which was awful, by the way, terrible. Written on 3x5 note cards, and we couldn't even, it just wasn't a good game. But that's kind of where it started, and over the course of the next probably 2 years, from like 2016 to 2018. I really refined the actual game. I was just using cheesy, card stock components that would be like, buy, 1,000 3x5 cards off Amazon.com for $10, and other cardboard components like cardboard squares for $5. And I'm gonna take all of the miniatures from my my War of the Ring game, and this dwarf is gonna be a demon, and this elephant is going to be, whatever. So
Right.
we did, right. So we did all that. And then I took it to a convention and called Kingdom Con, that's local to San Diego. And we had a lot of fun, and I just learned a lot. And eventually it was like, all right, we're ready. I just don't have the time to work on it, because I have a full-time job, and it was just starting to become a real beast to play, and it's like took a lot of time that I had to dedicate to the game, right? And so I ended up actually, I run a web design business and a marketing business, and I hired somebody part-time, like 20 hours a week, to help me with Deliverance, and they did. And so we were able to kind of start to put some graphic design together, and able to make it look nicer and that kind of thing. And we play tested the snot out of it in order to kind of bring it to where it is today.
So we kind of hinted about it at the very start here, but I had seen some ads on Facebook for the game, and I have to be honest with you, the first time I saw that, I didn't pay attention that it was a board game. And when I saw the artwork, which I do believe is the box cover, that was all I saw, and I just saw Deliverance. I thought, holy crap, Deliverance, the thrash band from like the late 80s, 90s are back, and they have a new album coming out. So I clicked on it, and then I'm like, whoa, this is a board game. And then I was reading about it. But that is very Deliverance, the band. I don't know if you are familiar with that band, but look up some of their album covers. It's like, yeah, they exactly. That's the first thing I thought of. I'm like, it's like a Weapons of Our Warfare too. Oh my gosh! But that tangent aside, when I was reading through some of the comments, it shocked me at how many people didn't get the name, and they went to the Burt Reynolds movie.
Yeah.
So can you explain the name and kind of the difficulties you're having with that? Because I see it on Facebook a lot. I don't know if you're getting it elsewhere too, but
yeah, I'll say I've seen more banjo memes than you and the next 100 people combined will ever see in their lifetimes. So yeah, it's just and I've embraced the banjo. It's just funny. So yeah, so when I started this project, I never heard of that movie. It's a 1972 movie that was nominated for Best Picture but didn't win. And it's famous for a dueling banjo scene and the first homosexual rape scene in Hollywood film. And so I don't. That is kind of heavy, but something that a lot of people evidently remember. It's pretty gnarly. So I get a lot of banjo and squeal like a pig jokes.
I was surprised at how, because I was reading through some of the comments and I'm like, I had completely forgot about. I mean, I saw that movie like a long time ago, and I just completely forgot about it. And then it just shocked me that that's the first thing people went to. I'm like, no.
Yeah. So, one of the first questions someone might naturally ask, and I've been asked it times, is, why don't you change the name? And my response to that is, it's a good name. It means the right thing to the right people. And that's, I think, so my background is in marketing. And so we have, at the moment, maybe 3,500 email subscribers and 2,000 group members in our Facebook group and whatnot. And they know what the name means. They are happy with the name. What it actually means, it's a very good term for what you're doing in the game. But at the same time, the right target market doesn't know that movie, or they don't think of banjos when you hear the name. So I've got a lot of hate for it, but I'll tell you what. One time I posted about it was a fan posted our website link in one of the local Facebook groups, and it got our board game specific Facebook groups, and it got 10 people that put banjo memes, and another 10 people were like, hey, you shouldn't put banjo memes, that's mean. And then a bunch of people started arguing, and I got 350 email subscribers in it. And
wow.
So I just embraced the banjo memes. Like, you know what, if people want to hate, then it's gonna just cause everything to jump in the algorithm.
Yeah, I did. I just thought that was funny, because I'm like, wow, people automatically went there. They didn't even it was like no hesitation. Mm-hmm. It was like, is there dueling banjos? Is there squealing pigs? And I'm like, people, really?
Yeah, it's funny because so coming from the world of video games, you tend to get, especially at high level, you tend to get pretty good at trolling other people,
right? And
just needling people, and it's something that I really have to be careful about. Because I am, with this game, and just in general as a Christian, I don't want to be causing people to be extremely angry and that kind of thing. But at the same time, I don't like that people are hating on the game and that kind of thing. So I have to be careful about how I respond, but it's just so funny. Sometimes the responses are just, I try to laugh with people, but every once in a while, it's like, why does this remind me of Dueling Banjos? It's like,
It's like,
probably because of the battle shock you got from the horrible 1972.
right, exactly. Why did you watch that movie back in the day? You're right.
Yeah, yeah. People are like, why does this remind me of river rafting? It's like,
Right.
aren't you glad you didn't? Or people are like, I thought this was Deliverance at first, the old movie, and I was like, well, aren't you glad it's not?
Yeah, exactly. Well, see, I automatically went to the band because I saw the
Yeah.
artwork and it reminded me of
And
the
that's
bands.
awesome.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's where my mind went. Speaking of the artwork, you want to talk about the artwork? Because that's really what drew me in. And like, I really, when I clicked on, I did not like see that it was for a board. I mean, I would have, if I would have known it was for a big, yeah, I would have clicked on it anyway. But I really thought it was a new Deliverance album. So I'm like, oh, sweet. And then I looked at it and then I looked at the artwork and then I went to your website and I looked at the artwork and I'm like, this artwork is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons that I decided to self-publish Deliverance instead of give it to another publisher. So we actually did have many different offers for publishers to take Deliverance, and there was a lot of excitement about that. But we elected to self-publish because one of the prime reasons was because of the art. I felt like there was nobody that was going to get the art right. It's a really fine line that I'm walking with Deliverance, because you've got some people that are going to be upset if it's too, if the kid gloves are on and if it's just cute, whatever, it's just not going to sell very well. If it's too much like Renaissance, it's not going to sell very well. And if it's too much like angels are godlike creatures and demons are have like entrails pouring out and whatever, it's not going to sell very well. And I felt like I don't know if that makes sense, but
Oh, no,
I felt
totally.
like, okay, yeah. So I just thought there's nobody better than me to really balance and figure out the art. And so we in essence, so there's a reason for everything in Deliverance, the way it is and why it's that way. There's a reason for it, down to the small, the names of the status effects in the game, all the way to the big things like the art direction. And the art, I really wanted to use the art to show people how serious we. One of the things about a Christian game is that, like I think that I mentioned earlier, is that they're just generally worse re-themes of existing games.
Mm-hmm.
And Deliverance is its own thing that's never been done before, that's very innovative in the board game space. And I needed the art to show people how serious it is. It's right away. And so that's one of the reasons and why it is the way it is. I could talk about a million other aspects of the art if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, no, and like who is the artist that they have doing the artwork?
So it's a guy. His name is Dan Maynard. He is actually I found him because I must have interviewed like 60 artists, no exaggeration. And there was one guy that I saw. I found a really cool image of angels and demons, and a big red dragon coming up from the center of this vortex, and I was like, oh my goodness, a guy named Wes Talbot. And I sent him a message like, hey dude, can you do the art for this game? And he turns out he's like a senior artist at Lego. He's done all of like just the Lego Lord of the Rings, the Lego Harry Potter stuff.
No
He's
way.
the one that actually did the art for that. Yeah. He's like, dude, you couldn't afford me, but I've got a guy. Yeah. So, and he lives in the Netherlands or something with his wife. He's like, I went to school with this freelancing, and he might be a really good fit. That's where I found Dan. And so Dan Maynard has done all our angels, our demons, our hard frames, and so much more. And then in addition to that, I have another artist. His name is Johan Boycenet. I hope I didn't butcher his name, but he's a French artist that has worked on games like Lord of the Rings, Journeys of Middle-earth, Mansions of Madness. He's worked on Warhammer. He's worked on Arkham Horror.
It's a pretty impressive impressive list of work that he has there, though.
Absolutely. And he is a specialist in map cartography. So he does map.
Oh, okay.
Basically. And so he did all the maps for the game. We have a really interesting kind of top-down perspective on a town in the game, and it's I think it's a really cool way. Like all the tiles fit together, no matter which orientation you're setting them down, which side, and it just flows really well, and which of course order. So that was one of my. I just wanted people to feel like.
You have the angels. So how many angels are there in the game right now?
So there are 9 angels, and 8 of them are completely finished with the design. The ninth one is in process as far as the art, but functionally, there are 9 angels that have been very heavily play tested. Um, I think that there are going to be 5 in the game, and then as we unlock stretch goals, we'll unlock the others. But um, so 9 so far, and then we have a bunch of angels for.
So how did you come up with the angels that you're using? Are they I can't think of the word I want to use. Are they based on actual angels? I guess is I can't think of a better way to put that.
Yeah, so you've got some angels that are famous and named. Michael and Gabriel are the two that most people would know. So you've got
Right.
Michael the archangel and Gabriel the messenger of God. In addition to that, I went and found. So the game is based on the lore of the Bible, which is the Bible. So we have a lore base that is very, very well, um, you know, uh, it's complete, right? And so with any lore base, let's say Lord of the Rings, for example, you can't just decide that elves, don't know how to use a bow, or that orcs are good guys or whatever. You have to you have to stick within the lore of that universe in order for it to be correct, right? There's a right way and a wrong way to present an orc, and Riders of Rohan and so on and so forth, right? So with Deliverance, you've got angels are good, demons are bad, Satan's the worst. It's just how it is. Now, the angels themselves have to be portrayed in a certain way that is consistent with the Lord. As a Christian game designer, you can't do anything because it's cool. It has to also fit within the lore. It has to be thematically appropriate. And so the angels are, by and large, they're really an allegory meant to represent people and the way that we fight spiritual warfare. So there are some famous characters. You've got Michael and Gabriel, as I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Michael's kind of skill set relates to what people might understand as like a berserker warrior. He just wants to like get in the middle of combat and take a bunch of hits and deal a bunch of damage. And he's got a big two-handed sword. He's going to hit stuff. And Gabriel is more of a messenger, where he's not the greatest in combat, but he's incredibly good at moving around the battlefield, using prayer cards, which is one of the mechanics of the game. He draws a bunch of prayer cards and use their effects. It's a very powerful way to play, and very different in feel. Now you've got other characters that are more. They come from tradition, more lore and tradition.
Okay.
So you've got Azrael, the angel of death. This is traditionally ascribed. Actually, it's just the name comes from. There's Jewish tradition, and then also Islamic tradition ascribes the name of the angel of death to Azrael. When in reality, the truth is that the whole situation with the Egypt and the Jewish people crossing the Red Sea and all that, the angel that was probably a Christ, in a pre-incarnation of Christ. There's no real evidence for the angel, but everybody understands the angel of death, and it sounded like a really fun character, and it was thematically appropriate. It was a good fit, and so there you go. You've got Uriel, the flame of God, which is talked about in other books, and then you've got angels that are spoken of that are not named, but that are spoken about in the Bible and ascribed, and certain powers are ascribed to them. One of the most common that I can think about is the angel with power of fire. But earlier, you've got the angel of the rivers, angel of the waters. In Revelation, you've got a lot of different roles of angels that control the four winds and other things like that. So we know that angels are assigned elemental powers and responsibilities related to the elements. And you've got a lot of examples. So there are other angels, still others that are just basically completely made up that are based on concepts from the Bible. You've got Sardius the Stonebender, who is basically is a living volcano, and he
Nice.
kind of has that skill set. So yeah, if you want to cause earthquakes and move things around, it's a really fun character. So you've got different kind of thematic roles that angels have, but they're all the elite of the elite, best angelic fighters, warriors that heaven has, and all of them play very differently from one another. It's if you're familiar with like League of Legends or
Mm-hmm.
World of Warcraft, you've got your different classes that behave very differently. You want to play, if you want to be a healer, you can do that. If you want to be a support or a like a high damage dealer or tanky character, you've got different characters that you play, and then each of those different characters has different flavor.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
these angels are the same. So you've got Michael, who is kind of, or well, let's say Azrael, who is kitted out to be like that either that Assassin's Creed roguelike character where he wants to be in melee range, ripping fools up with his giant scythe, or you've got a different build of Azrael, which focuses on affliction, causing, in essence, negative status effects to enemies. And he leverages those negative status effects, like basically plague and pestilence, to deal extra damage. And you've got still another build of Azrael, which wants to, and that would have been melee, right, dealing damage with plague effects. And then you've got another build of Azrael that would want to sit far away, kind of almost as a mage or type that would lob plague turret. He would be like a plague turret that would lob plague and pestilence across the map, and he would be very squishy. So every character is kind of kitted out uniquely, but during the course of the game, you can build them in one of several different ways, and depending on the mode of the game you're playing, you have fully customized during a campaign over multiple games, as a 14 mission campaign, or you can play a skirmish, which is just like a one-off. You bring the game to game night, and then everybody picks an angel, and then over the course of a 2-hour game, you get to build up and customize your character in a way that'll be different every single. It'll feel different every.
It sounds like there's going to be a lot of replayability in there, and no two angels are going to play the same. Therefore, I wouldn't think back-to-back games would play the same depending on which angels that you have.
That's right. And then in addition to that, you've got the demons and not only the bosses of the game, but you also have the minions of the game that each play in a very different manner. So the game controls the way the minions behave, as well as the bosses called the fallen princes. And they actually will work together through their own custom menu of actions to defeat you, and they will respond to, and sometimes they'll ruin your plan. And it requires, you might have this idea of like, oh, I'm gonna beat the game in this way. We're gonna do this on this turn, that on that turn, and by and large, you're gonna be your plans are gonna be thwarted, and you're gonna have to adapt on the fly, which is really fun.
Okay,
It
yeah.
causes a lot of depth and strategy, and we have to change, and you're not having to plan out. One of the things that drives me crazy is like in chess, I can checkmate this guy, but it's gonna take 18 moves. Like how in some games it's like that, or like inside it's like, all right, I have to think 3 or 4 turns ahead, and it's like a
Right,
lot of
yeah.
analysis, and it's not really like that as much in this game. It's nice because you can make a good decision, and then the next turn rolls around, it might change the way that you would behave, and you don't have to plan in advance like crazy. However, there are multiple difficulty levels, and the more skilled that you get, the more you would leverage all the tools you've got.
So, how many of the demons and the fallen princes are there then? Because we know how many angels there are. So, let's talk about the opposite. Let's talk about the bad guys we're going up against.
Yes. So there are 8 demon minions. There are 8 demon minion types, and that behave very differently. And then there are 7 fallen prince encounters that where they each have their own kind of elements and highlights, but they're all very like the final boss, the fallen prince. You have to you win the game by slaying the fallen prince and then his minions in kind of that final battle. Um, and they will all challenge you in very different ways. It reminds me. I use this game a lot as an analogy, but it reminds me of like a World of Warcraft raid boss. The way that it kind of plays out, where you've got a boss that he's going to do certain things, like the dragon is going to do a big tail sweep and then a fire breath. So stay away from the head, stay away from the tail, or whatever, right? And you know that he's going to do those things. You don't know exactly when, but it's pretty easy to kind of predict. Then there are other things that might happen to specifically mess you up. You might have a bunch of minions come out and start attacking. You might have your positioning ruined. All of a sudden, maybe the boss will afflict you with a negative status effect and threaten you in a different way. And it's a really fun, what I call a semi-scripted encounter, where certain things the prince will always do, other things the prince may or may not do, and there's just enough in there that there's kind of a way, you think, okay, it's this guy, we'll try to beat him like this, and then using a particular strategy, and then he has ways that that force you to adapt and change your strategy on the fly if you want to win.
Okay. And you did say that there was 2 modes of play. There's going to be the campaign mode, and then there is a skirmish mode.
Yes. So the campaign is really fun, but so everyone right now, you can play on Tabletop Simulator, and so you can play Deliverance on Tabletop Simulator right now. And the mode that is available to play is the skirmish. So you can just sit down and play an hour to 2 hour game with your buddy. And the campaign is going to remember your choices. So you'll get to level up, you'll gain experience over the course of a 14 mission campaign, and you'll get to apply that to your character and customize your angel based on the encounter that you're facing. And you'll get to you'll fight unique encounters, and in addition to that, minions that you might not face during a normal turn.
Okay, all right.
So,
and then what's the player count?
It's 1 to 4 players, so there's a dedicated solo mode. It's a lot of fun, and you get to play with up to, if you want to play with up to 4.
Okay, and then you did say there was a solo mode, so that's good. That was going to be my next question. So there is a solo mode, and it's actually built in, so it's not like how a lot of people do solo mode. It's like, oh, just play 2 angels.
Right, exactly. And some people, they might like to play 2 angels, but I really feel like a game needs a good solo mode that is
I agree. 100% agree with you.
Yeah, it's frustrating when solo is like a tacked on thing, and it's like, oh yeah, we have 6 different solo scenarios. Yeah, but what about like the 80% of the game that I don't
right.
get to play?
I'm not going to get to play because, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so solo mode is specifically geared, like anything that you can do in the game, you can also do solo.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. And then the Kickstarter, you are going on Kickstarter with this. Can you tell us when the Kickstarter will launch?
Yeah, so it's going to launch on June 8th, and hopefully fund that same day. That's my goal.
Well, we hope so. So June 8th, look for this. And then I was going to ask you too, are you looking at doing all miniatures? Or are you going to have stand-ups? Are you going to have like the choice in the Kickstarter where if you just want to do just like standees, you can do that? Or if you want to, you're going to have like another level to where you'll get miniatures?
Yeah, so we are doing 4. So miniatures is by far the most popular option, but we do have a version that is standee only. So you'll have beautiful cardboard standees of full art, the angels and the demons, and whatnot. That is going to be $59. If you want the deluxe edition, it's going to come with angel miniatures, really beautiful angel minis that and it's going to come with a big metal first player token, like an initiative tracking token for the players to pass around. It's going to be like a double-sided heavenly coin, where one side is beautiful and the other side is just scarred with big claw marks right through it. It's going to be
nice.
It's like a Harvey Two-Face coin.
Okay, all right.
And then you've got upgraded components. You've got health dials to track health and other things like that. So nice insert and everything, and more cards. So you've got a ton of gameplay content there. We're doing metal coins with metal. So there's this resource token you use to unleash your more powerful angelic abilities called courage. And we've got metal courage tokens that are double-sided, and there are there's a neoprene mat that we're going to do for people who want to go quote unquote all in. It's going to be $150 for the all in, and if you want all the gameplay content, it's $89. If you want to dip your toe in, it's $50.
So I like those prices. That's not too bad. That seems, I hate it when like Kickstarters do, if they have like an all in, it's like some outrageous amount that it's like, yeah, I'm never spending that for a board game. But $150 if you get miniatures and they're good quality miniatures and all the other extras, that's not a bad price at all for like an all in Ultimate Edition or what have you.
Yeah, totally. And it's one of those things that I wanted to make sure that all the gameplay content wasn't too expensive. So $89 is my, if you want the gameplay content and you're conscious about the price and whatnot, 89 is the way to go. The rest is basically additional metal coins and then the neoprene mat, which is extra swag that's going to make it more fun to play. You'll get cool components that are really really fun to use, but at the same time you're not having to get 150 can be a lot of somebody's budget. So just wanted to make sure that it was accessible to others, that it wasn't one of those big giant miniature candy, like if you want to get all the stuff, make sure you
right yeah yeah exactly. It's like, we have the $250 pledge, and then if you want everything, we have the $500 pledge, or whatever.
You're
right,
gonna get 9 boxes delivered to you
right,
10
exactly.
years from now.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, poor UPS and FedEx people that have to lug those around, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to this. Now, is this going to be Kickstarter exclusive? Are you thinking eventually you might go into retail with some version of it?
So my goal, I would like to go into retail, but and I've actually talked with several distributors that are on board. Depending on how well the Kickstarter does and everything like that, they might like to take a chance at Deliverance. However, I don't have super established relationships yet with distribution, so the only way that's guaranteed to get Deliverance is through this Kickstarter right now. And I can tell you one thing for sure is that we're only producing very limited copies of the metal coins and the neoprene mats, and in any case, those are not going to retail. So if you want all the stuff, and of course all the stretch goals and that kind of thing,
right,
might not be going to retail. So if you want all the stuff, then definitely you want to back the game on Kickstarter. And then it could go to retail. It will be the same price probably. You'll generally, because Kickstarter offers us better margins, we're able to include more stuff as stretch goals if we do well. But then also we're also subsidizing shipping for everybody, so that it doesn't cost $100 to ship it to Australia.
Exactly, right. Right. So. That's, shipping is crazy right now. I know I've backed a couple other Kickstarters, and they're just saying shipping is a nightmare for everybody. So, but I'm just like, good on you for taking this on yourself and doing this like all independently.
Yeah, it's one of those things I didn't originally intend to make to start a publishing business in order to see this come to fruition. I wanted it to exist, and so I thought, well, if I do all the work, then tie it up in a nice little bow. Publisher would love it, and they did, but it ended up being that for one reason or another, each publisher offer that we got wasn't the right fit, and I realized that I need to do this in order to get it done.
Well, we wish you all the luck. We will be keeping a close eye on it. Of course, I'll put up a post over on the site as soon as that Kickstarter goes live. We'll continue to keep talking about it on the podcast, and we're super excited about it here. I am super, super excited about this. Like I said, I'm glad I kind of stumbled upon it by complete accident, and now that I have, I'm like, this is amazing. This game looks amazing. I can't wait to actually play this game.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a labor of love for a long time, but I know the world really needs something like this. I find that a lot of Christians are really excited about it. They're some of my most hardcore fans, but at the same time, I would say it's like my email list is 50% Christian, 50% non-Christian. And the non-Christians, what they love about it is that it is extremely fun and thematically appropriate, and it's not preaching. They use those words in particular all the time. It's not preaching really meant to preach. It's meant to. So we start at, hey, Jesus was crucified, he died, was buried, resurrected. He's your commander in chief, by the way. And now you are being sent on this quest. So we talked about that magic circle concept at the beginning.
Mm-hmm, right.
You've got, I don't hide anything. I'm not trying to hide that or be stealthy about anything. It's like, hey, this is the roots of this game, and someone who is non-Christian will say, well, I don't believe in that, but it's just like, well, maybe it's just like Greek mythology or, Viking lore or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have a problem watching Thor, and they don't have a problem watching, I don't know, thinking like Clash of the Titans. It was probably a B movie, but I really liked it. So,
that was an amazing movie. Oh yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad to find it.
There you go. All right. So we'll look for this coming to Kickstarter in June. June 8th, you said, was the target date?
Yes. June 8th is when we're going to launch. Come hell or high water, we're launching on June. We're doing absolutely everything we can to prepare.
And then do you have like a rough delivery date? I know that's kind of hard to like say, but what is your, just say, goal for delivery? Which I realize that can change because there's a lot of factors. Totally.
So part of our, I do have an estimate, and I built in some padding and that kind of thing. So we'll probably have June 2022 as the posted delivery date, with an intent to deliver by. So the intent is actually to deliver by March. Get the stuff on the boat before the Chinese New Year. But you never know, if we end up getting on the boat in March, we'll still deliver on.
Excellent. All right, so we'll look for this Deliverance coming to Kickstarter on June 8th, and that is from Lowen Games. As I said, we will let you know for sure when it launches, and we wish you all of the luck to get this thing funded, because people need to play this.
Awesome. Yes, thank you very much. And if you would like more information, you are welcome to go to deliverancethegame.com. Go to deliverancethegame.com. You'll get, you can sign up for the email newsletter, and you'll get access to the Facebook group, the Discord community, Tabletop Simulator that you can play right now. Tabletop Simulator if you wanted. And look forward to seeing y'all at the Kickstarter event. And thank you so much for supporting. I really appreciate you having me on this podcast. It really means a lot that you wanted to chat. Really appreciate your time.
Well, yeah, no problem. Thanks for coming on. And once again, I will link all of that. I will link the website and everything. You can just go down into the description of the video. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening to the audio podcast version, you can go over to the website and find the show notes, and the link will be there. So we'll look forward to Deliverance the Game coming June 8th on Kickstarter.